Hello, friends. Welcome, friends, enemies, neutrals, and kind mothers, to both wake up and think clearly on YouTube and as a podcast, and Buddhism for happiness, the number 4 in there. So we're going to talk about the 4 noble truths, of course. That's an important subject in Buddhism that's common to all Buddhist traditions, even though there's much debate between them and differences. They should contain the 4 noble truths, right? That was an important teaching by the Buddha. The teachings of the Buddha. It is often called the Buddha DHARMA. So, also translated as the good law. The law that is good for one to follow. If one is going to eliminate suffering in this life. Okay, so the 4 noble truths. So in the translations from the originals, either Pali, P-A-L-I, or Sanskrit, mostly Pali. I think it's hard to come by the Sanskrit, except in Tibetan and Chinese Buddhism. Maybe they have their versions in Sanskrit, but still they had to have translated those into Chinese or Tibetan for their Buddhist sects. Okay, so we're gonna focus on the Pali versions, and I don't have them with me, but I have them translated from the Pali into English. So maybe another day I will attempt to see them with my very own eyes in the Pali form, and maybe a Pali dictionary, and figure out word for word how they came about with the interpretations by scholars or monks that were assigned to translate these texts from Pali to our European languages. So when you come to the 4 noble truths, you come to a word that sometimes is left untranslated and sometimes it's translated. And when it's translated, it's oftentimes translated as the word suffering, and rarely unsatisfactoriness or stress. So that word that is being translated into suffering or unsatisfactoriness or stress is the word dukkha, D-U-K-K-H-A. And the definition of dukkha is that's translated as suffering or unsatisfactoriness. It's being defined in the texts, the original texts that were originally chanted for a long time, and they were finally written down. And the text, the language that they chose to write it down has been called Pali, and so there's a snippet of a vast amount of text, of volume of text that is as big as 10 Christian Bibles. In there, in what is called the Samyutta Nikaya 56.11, there's this verse that talks about this word suffering or dukkha. And in this translation or interpretation, a monk by the name of Tanisaru Bhikkhu translated it or interpreted it as follows. Now this, monks, is the noble truth of dukkha. The first of the Four Noble Truths is the Noble Truth of dukkha. Birth is dukkha, aging is dukkha, death is dukkha, sorrow is dukkha, lamentation is dukkha, pain is dukkha, grief is dukkha, despair is dukkha. Actually, I read it wrong. He says, birth is dukkha, aging is dukkha, death is dukkha, sorrow, comma, lamentation, comma, pain, comma, grief, comma, and despair are all dukkha. Actually, he didn't use the word all. He just said are dukkha. Association with the unbeloved is dukkha. Separation from the loved is dukkha. Not getting what is wanted is dukkha. In short, the 5 clinging aggregates are dukkha. The 5 clinging aggregates are dukkha. So, let me read it one more time. Now this, monks, is the noble truth of dukkha. Birth is dukkha, aging is dukkha, death is dukkha, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair are dukkha. Association with the unbeloved is dukkha. Separation from the loved is dukkha. Not getting what is wanted is dukkha. In short, the 5 clinging aggregates are dukkha. Now, let me read it one more time. Now this, monks, is the noble truth of dukkha. Birth is dukkha, aging is dukkha, death is dukkha, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair are dukkha. Association with the unbeloved is dukkha. Separation from the loved is dukkha. Not getting what is wanted is dukkha. In short, the 5 clinging aggregates are dukkha. Whew. Now that is the Samyutta Nikaya 56.11, translated by Thanissaro Bhikkhu. Now, I don't know what 56.11 means. Does it mean chapter 56 and verse 11? I don't know. Maybe that's book 56, chapter 11. That's where this verse is found. I don't know. I'll learn that as they get deeper into this. But that same verse, that one was translated by Thanissaro Bhikkhu. Now, that same verse, that one I just read, it comes from a Pali. It's all originally in Pali, but it had to be have been translated. It was translated by Thanissaro Bhikkhu. That's okay. And now we're going to look at another translation of that same verse in Pali by Bhikkhu Sujato. Bhikkhu means monk. Okay, male monk. Now, here's how it goes. Now, this is the noble truth of suffering. Rebirth is suffering. Old age is suffering. Illness is suffering. Death is suffering. Association with the disliked is suffering. Separation from the liked is suffering. Not getting what you wish for is suffering. In brief, the 5 grasping aggregates are suffering. That was translated by Bhikkhu Sujato. Let me repeat it one more time. Now, this is the noble truth of suffering. Rebirth is suffering. Old age is suffering. Illness is suffering. Death is suffering. Association with the disliked is suffering. Separation from the liked is suffering. Not getting what you wish for is suffering. In brief, the 5 grasping aggregates are suffering. Right off the bat, I noticed a difference. I just noticed one that says, the first translation goes, now this, monks. So now this, comma, monks, comma, is the noble truth of dukkha. But this one, one I just read, is that it doesn't include the word monks. Now this is the noble truth of suffering. It starts off. And then another thing I noticed is different is that the The Tanisaru Bhikkhu translation says birth is dukkha, but the Bhikkhu Sujato version says rebirth is suffering. Oh, first you'll notice that the Tanisaru Bhikkhu version, it leaves dukkha untranslated, whereas the Bhikkhu Sujato translates it as suffering. So it gives it a bigger punch to it, more intense. So we can agree that old age can be suffering, illness can be suffering, death. Well, going through the death process can be suffering. Association with the disliked is suffering. Separation from the liked is suffering. Not getting what you wish for is suffering. And the 5 grasping aggregates are suffering. So another thing I noticed that's different is the first one. The Tanisaru Bhikkhu version says combines them together, eliminates dukkha, or dukkha is dukkha. It combines 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It brings them together and says are suffering, like it's a set of things, a set of items, and then he finishes off with are suffering. So this set of things are suffering. Those set of things are sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair. Those words are not in the second version. The second translation by Bhikkhu Sujato, they're not mentioned. I don't see sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair. That's interesting. What other things are different? Oh, we could go on forever finding differences. Like the first one says aging is dukkha, but the second one says old age is suffering. So, aging, what's the difference between aging and old age? Well, when we are born, we are aging, aren't we? But we're recreating cells, but the cells that are dying off, they were aging, weren't they? I don't know. So when does aging happen? Okay, so I guess it's preference. But it's interesting to analyze the differences. And I could go on, but but in both of them, they have this word aggregates, right? They have difference in the adjective that goes with aggregates. One of them says clinging aggregates, and the other one says grasping aggregates. The Tanisaru Bhikkhu translation says the 5 clinging aggregates. It puts a hyphen between clinging and aggregates. That could be, there could be a purpose for that. Whereas the other one, the Bhikkhu Sujato translation says grasping aggregates, but it doesn't have a hyphen between the two. I'm assuming that clinging and grasping mean the same thing, roughly. It is a personal choice or preference as to which one you like or they chose for whatever reason. But that gives an interesting flavor to the verse. But now we have to discuss what is the 5 clinging aggregates. That comes from the word or aggregates comes from the word khanda, Khandha. The H means it's aspirated, so if the consonant doesn't have an H, it would be hard. Ganda. But since it has an H, it's khanda. More air comes out of the mouth. Khanda. That kind of softens the consonant a bit. Khanda. Okay, I'm exaggerating, but that's what the purpose of the H is for, in pronouncing it correctly. Who knows how it was originally pronounced, but that's what they've used. So khanda is usually translated into English as aggregate. Originally, for the listeners of the Buddha, a khanda could be a pile, a bundle, a heap, a mass. It could also be the trunk of a tree. So the Buddha gave the word khanda a new psychological meaning, introducing the term clinging khandas. To summarize his analysis of the truth of stress and suffering, what was the new meaning? Khandas, aggregates. Maybe they're aggregates that form our psychology. I don't know. I'll have to read up where I got this information to make sure I understand it correctly. So, which adjective to use? Clinging or grasping to describe the 5 khandas, or aggregates, or heaps, as a psychological condition that the Buddha was defining or expressing as the basis of suffering. So we look at the dictionary definition of clinging. It says of a garment, so fitting closely to the body and showing its shape. That's clinging. She was wearing a clinging black dress. But the actual meaning that we want here is number 2, overly dependent on someone emotionally. She was the clinging type. Synonyms for cling: adhere, cleave, cohere, stick. All these words mean to become closely attached. Clinging implies attachment by hanging on with arms or tendrils, or a Velcro has got tendrils. Definition of grasp: it comes as a verb or a noun. And under verbs, it comes as an intransitive or transitive verb. So what is grasping? What is it to grasp? What is grasp as a noun? Okay, so maybe I should put this over there. No, I'll fix it. No, maybe I should. Okay, there's a mistake. Okay. Okay, fix that. What is it? Okay, from the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, grasp, verb. Grasps, grasping, grasps. And definition of grasp, entry 1 of 2. Intransitive verb, to make the motion of seizing, clutch. Is an expression, grasping for support. As a transitive verb, it means to take or seize eagerly. Here's a usage of the word grasp as a transitive verb. Grasp the opportunity for advancement. And another definition for grasp as a transitive verb would be to clasp or embrace, especially with the fingers or arms. Grasped the pen and began writing. And the third one is to lay hold of with the mind, comprehend. He failed to grasp the danger of the situation. Or here's some more sayings. Grasp at straws, to reach for or try anything in desperation. Grasp the nettle, N-E-T-T-L-E, to act boldly. And finally, you can use grasp as a noun. Handle, embrace, hold, control. He kept a firm grasp on the rope. Or the reach of the arms, how far I can reach. Would I be able to grab something? The books on the top shelf were beyond my grasp. Or beyond my grasp. The power or seizing and holding or attaining. That's another definition as a noun. And an example would be success lay within their grasp. And another definition is mental hold or comprehension, especially when broad. He had a remarkable grasp of the subject. But I guess in our case we want a verb, don't we? Which one would it be? To make a motion of seizing, grasping, seizing. That in this case we're mentally grasping. There's the intransitive verb. To make a motion of seizing, in grasping for support. So I don't see the noun, the power of seizing or holding or attaining is close because it says, oh no, that's the third. The reach of the Number 4 under there's 4 definitions for grasp as a noun and sub-definitions, looks like, because number 1 is handle or embrace, so that's 2 under 1. Then number 2 is hold or control, keep a firm grasp on the rope. Number 3A is the reach of the arms, and 3B is the power of seizing or holding or attaining. Maybe that's what we're striving for. But then number 4 definition, the mental hold or comprehension, especially when broad. He had a remarkable grasp of the subject. But the word that we're looking for is grasping. So we have to look at as a verb. It's very physical because to take or seize opportunity. danger to grasp. Danger, the grasp the danger, the situation. He failed when I'm failing to grasp, or when I'm grasping the danger, the situation. I'm comprehending. So that's a positive definition of grasping. What about number? Oh no, number 4 is not there. So in the definition, according to Merriam-Webster, grasping is not defined in the Buddhist sense. So maybe clinging is a better word to use. I don't know, I'll have to look up grasping in other dictionaries. But anyway, in the word that they're trying to translate into English is the word upadana. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly. It might be upadana. 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 That's the Sanskrit and Pali word. I guess they're equivalent. That are originally or conventionally to the listeners of the Buddha meant fuel, material cause, substrate. That is the source and means for keeping a not active process energized. So it could also mean food or calories to keep oneself energized. Upadana. But it is also an important Buddhist concept referring to, or it may have happened that, like for aggregates or khandhas, the Buddha gave upadana a new psychological meaning. Referring to attachment, clinging, grasping. So it is considered to be the result of tanha, craving. And it's part of the dukkha, suffering, pain doctrine in Buddhism. So the types of clinging, there's 4 types. In the Sutta Pitaka, the Buddha states that there are 4 types of clinging. Sense, pleasure clinging, all views clinging, rites and rituals clinging, self-doctrine clinging. The Abhidhamma, in its commentaries, provide the following definitions for those 4 clinging types. So sense pleasure clinging, that's in Pali, that's kamupadana. It's a repeated craving of worldly things. And view clinging, that has to do with eternalism, nihilism, things, those isms. Clinging to our worldview. Rites and rituals clinging, believing that rites alone could directly lead to liberation, typified in the text by the rites and rituals of ox practice and dog practice. Self-indoctrination clinging, self-identification with selfless entities, illustrated by MN44, and further discussed in the Skandhas and Anatta articles. So those are the notes that I took. Derived mostly from access to insight.org website, but also some dictionary searches. Okay. The above was derived mostly from access, but also Wikipedia search. Wikipedia search. In this discussion. Okay, so yes, while I was discussing this topic, I was on Access to Insight website and coming up with these notes, and I also searched on Wikipedia and on dictionaries online to come up with all these notes. And let's see, this notes for the teachings, the Dhamma, the good law. And this is an afterthought of me reading the notes, but for me to compose these notes, and they're getting improved, I guess, I hope so. I didn't have anything written down, but as I was reading the website Access to Insight and looking in particular the Four Noble Truths, and starting off with the first of the Four Noble Truths, I gathered all these notes. So I never got to finish all Four Noble Truths, but that's the first of the Four Noble Truths. So you could say that this discussion covers the first of the Four Noble Truths. Thank you very much. So now what follows is the video recording of how this happened, how what I just covered came about in me surfing the internet on the Four Noble Truths. I only got to the first. So this is part 1 of 4 episodes, you could say. This is episode 1 on the first of the Four Noble Truths. Thank you for joining us, or me. See you in my next gathering. Hopefully you can drop by on a Saturday morning at 7 a.m. through Zoom. Meeting ID 407-486-8642 for now, so far. Well, we'll maybe talk about these things, but also subscribe to the channel that this comes up on. It'll be on Wake Up and Think Clearly, and on Buddhism for Happiness. And a podcast related to Wake Up and Think Clearly. Thank you. I hope this helped. I hope it helped me, mostly. Thanks. Bye. Welcome, friends, enemies, neutrals, kind mothers, and all others who eventually come to hear this. So I opened up a notepad, you can see here. Let's see if I can type. You can see that I can type, right? Let's see, I'm going to type. So I type welcome. Oops. Oh, welcome, friends, enemies, neutrals, and kind mothers. So, and before that I put the words, the teachings, the Dhamma, the law. So they're sort of equivalent. So I'm going to look up the teachings. So I'm going to go to access to insight.org, and so I'm going to look up self-guided tour of Buddhist teachings, the Buddha, the Dhamma, the Sangha. Let's see, refuge, path of deliverance, study guide, the Dhamma. Outline of Buddha teachings, a gradual training. Let's see, the Four Noble Truths. I'm going to go there. Okay. The Four Noble Truths. Can you see that? Let's see. Yes. The Four Noble Truths. Chattari Ariya Sachani. I think that's how you pronounce that. So the C is like in Italian. It's often CH sound. I'm thinking. Anyway, it's not too important right now. I want to get studying about the Four Noble Truths. So, well, in general, I think of the Four Noble Truths as a recipe for one to see what's happening and becoming aware that there is an issue going on here and looking for the cause, finding it, and undoing it. Or controlling it somehow, or reducing its propensity to cause further issues. And that leads to liberation from that issue. So what is the issue that we're looking at? Okay, so let's see. The first noble truth that defines the issue. Now this, monks, is the noble truth of dukkha. What is dukkha? No single English word adequately captures the full depth, range, and subtlety of the crucial Pali term dukkha. Over the years, many translations of the word have been used: stress, unsatisfactoriness, suffering, etc. Each has its own merits in a given context. There is value in not letting oneself get too comfortable with any one particular translation of the word, since the entire thrust of Buddhist practice is the broadening and deepening of one's understanding of dukkha until its roots are finally exposed and eradicated once and for all. Wow. Is that possible? One helpful rule of thumb: as soon as you think you've found the single best translation for the word, think again, for no matter how you describe dukkha, it's always deeper, subtler, and more unsatisfactory than that. So, the definition of dukkha is in this statement. Birth is dukkha, aging is dukkha, death is dukkha, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, despair are dukkha. Association with the unbeloved is dukkha. Separation from the loved is dukkha. Not getting what is wanted is dukkha. In short, the five clinging aggregates are dukkha. Whew. Okay, what I understand about the five clinging aggregates. That's that's something that we could think about. That might be new to some. Okay, so we want to know what is dukkha and what is the five clinging aggregates. So, because in the definition of dukkha, there is mention of the five clinging aggregates. Oh, so, what if I look it up in here? I have an idea of what it is. Oh. The five aggregates. Oh, wait a minute. The five aggregates. Okay. All right. The Buddha's awakening gave him, among other things, a new perspective on the uses and limitations of words. He had discovered a reality, the deathless, that no words could describe. At the same time, he discovered that the path to awakening could be described, although it involved a new way of seeing and conceptualizing the problem of suffering and stress. Because ordinary concepts were often poor tools for teaching the path, he had to invent new concepts and to stretch pre-existing words to encompass those concepts that others could taste, so that others could taste awakening themselves. Wow. So, it sounds like he had to maybe use common words and come up with new ways of understanding them, or come up with new words and give them new definitions. No, maybe the word aggregates was already there, but he may have been the first one to define aggregates as there being five of them. Maybe not. So anyway, one of the new concepts most central to his teaching was that of the khandhas, usually translated into English as aggregates. So prior to the Buddha, the Pali word khandha had very ordinary meanings. A khandha could be a pile, a bundle, a heap, a mass. Oh, so I would say that common people would use that word, like when you gather wood to build a fire, you might say, gather me a khandha of wood for the fire. So maybe a English word that we could use would be the word bunch. Give me a bunch of this. Or whatever. I guess it depends on what we're expressing. We might use a different word. Like, yes, whatever we gather. It depends on what we're talking about. I can't think of other ways of using the word bunch. But anyway, I got distracted. But let me copy this. A kanda could be a pile. What is a kanda could be a pile? Well, there's the 5 aggregates. The 5. Yeah, aggregates. A kanda could be a pile. Khandas. So we could say that that khandas no, khanda is usually translated into English as aggregate. A khanda could be a pile. A khanda could be a pile, a bundle, a heap, a mass. It could also be a trunk of a tree. So what did Buddha do with that word? So the Buddha gave it a new psychological meaning, introducing the term clinging khandas. The Buddha gave copy. Let's see. So the Buddha gave the word khanda, gave the word khanda a new psychological meaning, introducing the term clinging khandas to summarize his analysis of the truth of stress and suffering. Gave the word khanda a new psychological, introducing the term clinging khandas, or clinging aggregates, to summarize his analysis of the truth of stress and suffering. Now, what does the word clinging mean? They get together, I guess. Let's see. So it says here throughout. Let me increase the size of this, right? I can do that, right? And it's working. Oh, that helps, doesn't it? So let's go back to the beginning. This is under the 5 aggregates. A study by Tanisaru Bhikkhu, 2010. So this is very important. The Buddha's awakening gave him, among other things, a new perspective on uses and limitations of words. He had discovered a reality, the deathless, that no words could describe. At the same time, he discovered that the path to awakening could be described, although it involved a new way of seeing and conceptualizing the problems of suffering and stress. because ordinary concepts were often poor tools for teaching the path. He had to invent new concepts, and to stretch pre-existing words to encompass those concepts so that others could taste awakening themselves. So this is a key. If we can understand what the 5 aggregates are, we may have a chance in tasting awakening. Okay, so I wish to wake up and think clearly. Are you getting it? I'm gonna post this on the YouTube channel. Wake. There's no H in there. Wake up and think clearly. Wake up, the letter N, think clearly on YouTube. That's the name of the channel. Wake up and think clearly. All together, no space between the words. Wake up, the letter N, think clearly. Just type it in. You might be able to just type on them separately and you can come up with it. But yes, you'll find this posted there. And also in another YouTube channel called Buddhism for Happiness, because here we're both trying to wake up and also study Buddhism for our own true happiness. Okay, so I want to wake up and think clearly. So if I can think clearly about these words, I may have a chance at tasting awakening. So in what I've noted here over here, we need to know. Let me switch over to the notepad. We need to know what dukkha is. When we look at the definition of dukkha, let's see. I better go find it. Okay. Oh. There's no way to go back. Oh. Let me see. Wait a minute. Oh no. Yeah. I'm just checking. So that means that if I go like this and then like this, oh, I went too far. No? What's this? Are you seeing what I'm seeing? Let's see. Okay, yeah. Wisdom for Dummies? I wanted to go... Oh, that's a good talk, I think. Oh, but I want to go back to this one, maybe? No, that's Walgreens. Don't want that one. So it must be over here. Oh, okay. Oh, maybe it's over here. Okay, yeah. You can see this, right? I want to go back to this one. Dukkha. But then I want to go... how do I... No, I want to go forward. What's this? Oh, what I want to do then is to... recargar. Recargar. Duplicar. Okay, I'm going to duplicate this search result so that then I can go back to this main page. This is important too. So we have 2 pages. This one on dukkha and this one. Is it this one? On the 5 aggregates. Okay. All right. So dukk with 2 K's. Dukkha and an H. we learned that it's kind of hard to translate. It's got many meanings and it depends on the context. So it's been translated as stress, unsatisfactoriness, suffering, etc. So none of them are right or wrong. Each has its own merits. So the but the definition, here's the definition of dukkha given in the this SN 56.11. That's a way of getting to what verse, what book or chapter. In SN is I believe it's the Sutta Nikaya. The N, I believe, means Nikaya. Oh no, that's not what it means. What SN means. Let's go there. So right click and go like that. So when I do that, it'll open up. What's this? Oh, along the path. Oh, that's an interesting article. Sorry to get distracted. Is it this one or this one? Oh, what did I do? I wanted to. I have so many tabs. I don't know what. Okay, but I need to. Maybe I can close some of these. Wow. There's some interesting things there that I have open. I can close Amazon's. Let's say I should close Amazon's for now. Maybe not. And Google searches for now. Oh, I want to keep that one. Maybe. I'm going to keep that one. I can find them if I need to make it. Oh, I should have kept that one open. Oh, that's an interesting one. Okay, anyway, what I was trying to do, I can close these. Oh no, maybe I should have kept it. What's that one? I close that one. Stephanie Noble. Stephanie Noble? Okay. That's interesting. Access to insight. Okay. What I was trying to SN 56.11. The setting the wheel, the Dharma in motion. Oh. Huh. This is an important teaching right there. Okay. What I wanted to, maybe I could go to, what are the Nikayas in the Pali Canon? Okay. Oh, we get information from the Encyclopedia Britannica. So it looks like there's 5 major divisions of, according to the number of. Okay. So Nikaya means group, class, assemblage in Buddhism. Any of the so-called 18 schools of sectarian Buddhism. After the second council, Buddhist council, at which time the Mahasangita separated from the Sarivadis, a number of schools or sects began to appear over the course of many years. Each of the schools maintained high sight, or sometimes greater difference in doctrine, and each adhered to slightly different monastic codes. This early period of Buddhist history, prior to the formation of Mahayana Buddhism, with proliferation of many different Buddhist sects and divisions of schools, is often referred to as a period of Nikaya Buddhism or sectarian Buddhism. Oh, that's what that Nikaya means? Oh, class, assemblage, groups? I don't know. So it's referring to the 18 schools or sects of Buddhism. In addition, Southeast Asian countries such as Burma and sects are still called Nikaya. Second meaning, that's the meaning that I want for the word Nikaya, refers to a group or class of people. Refers not to a group or class of people, but to a group or assemblage of texts. So the 5 major divisions of the Sutta Pitaka of the Pali Canon are called Nikayas. The Digha Nikaya, containing long suttas, the Majjhima Nikaya, containing suttas of middle length, the Samyutta Nikaya, containing suttas organized according to content, the Anguttara Nikaya, containing suttas arranged according to the number of doctrinal items under discussion, and the Khuddaka Nikaya, containing suttas not included in any of the other 4 Nikayas. So 4 plus 1. Okay, the Digha, the Majjhima, magical. No, they're middle length. So Majjhima could mean middle, not too long, not too short. The Samyutta, so it's organized according to content. The Anguttara is arranged according to the number of doctrine items under discussion. I think I know what the Anguttara Nikaya is about. I'm not sure. I'll check on that later. But in the Khuddaka Nikaya, contains suttas not included in any of the other 4. So there's Digha, Majjhima, Samyutta, Anguttara, and the 5th one, Khuddaka. So we're looking at the Samyutta, containing suttas organized according to content. So in the Sutta Nikaya is where we find the 4 Noble Truths, right? And the 5 aggregates. Well, in the Sutta Nikaya, it's about setting the wheel of Dhamma in motion. And there it contains the 4 Noble Truths, right? But we'll look at this one later or another time. But we're going to get to the heart of things, to the dukkha and the 4 Noble Truths. What is this one? Meditation 5. What about maybe I have to dukkha. Okay, how do we get to the 4 Noble Truths? The 5 aggregates. Maybe it's in under here. No. How come this is that short? then I am mistaken. I thought this one would have, oh look, an updated issue. Dhamma talks. This version might be a little out of date. Okay. Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, setting the wheel of Dhamma in motion. This is pretty important. But it mentions the Four Noble Truths in here. But it doesn't go into detail. So this is at SN 56.11. So I'm going to go over here in the search results and type in the Four Noble Truths. And there we are. And the Four Noble Truths, a study guide. Ooh. Oh, that's propaganda. There it is. There. Maybe that's it. Oh. What? What? See also the Four Noble Truths. The Four Noble Truths study guide? Let's go to that one. But I want to see where he talks. Whoa. But that's probably a pretty good study guide. But I want to go to the First Noble Truth. Let's see. Whoa. The second, the nobility of the Four Noble Truths in Links to Awakening. Let's see what that is. Whoa. What is Wings to Awakening? Wings to Awakening. The basic factors. Wow. Okay. Let's see what this takes me to. The Four Noble Truths. Oh no. The Four Noble Truths. The fourth. General Index. Sorry for getting lost. General Index. I want Four Noble Truths. I want them without any commentary. Let's see. this advertisements, but then the Four Noble Truths, a study guide. Setting the nobility, the first noble truth, data index, even down. Setting, maybe I could use the history. Sorry guys, sorry folks, but this is important, I think. Let's see, access to insight. Search the Four Noble Truths. Maybe it's this one. Oh, that's... Wow. Access path to freedom. The Four Noble Truths. Let's see if this one is it. Or is it this one? It's probably this one. See if that's it. I don't see. Oh well. So, what was, see if I can concentrate and figure out what I was getting to or trying to get to. So, the teachings, get back to the beginning. The teachings, the Dhamma, the law. So, these are kind of equivalent. So the teachings, what is the teachings? What are the teachings? Okay, what are the teachings? Not what is. But it could be is as one thing. The Dhamma in Sanskrit, Dhamma is Pali, and Dharma is Sanskrit, right? And so there's a variety of like the other word, dukkha. It can mean different things, or there's many ways of translating it. There's many ways of translating Dhamma, and each way has its merit for different occasions. And so the Dhamma, I'm translating it as the teachings, but also Dhamma is translated as the law. In a way, the Dhamma attempts to explain the law. I think it has to do with not only the natural laws, but the laws that ends up producing man-made laws, behaviors, tendencies, observations. But maybe I should say the good law. The good law, as in following the good law will lead to good results. So the Dhamma is referred to as the good law, or it's translated that way. So when we start to study the Four Noble Truths, we end up having to also translate the word dukkha. What is dukkha? And what is the five clinging aggregates? So dukkha has many translations. Suffering, what? Unsatisfactoriness, stress, etc. But in the sutras, or sutras means words of the Buddha or discourses of the Buddha, there is a definition given for dukkha. What is this? The five aggregates. Okay. What is this? Setting the wheel. The first noble truth, when you go to it, there is the definition. The definition of dukkha is right there. Well, it's in the Sutta Nikaya 511. It looks like, I wonder if, I was hoping that definition of, well, definition of dukkha. Dukkha. So the definition. Now this, let me read this. Now this, monks, is the noble truth of dukkha. Birth is dukkha, aging is dukkha, death is dukkha, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, despair are dukkha. Association with the unbeloved is dukkha. Separation from the loved is dukkha. Not getting what is wanted is dukkha. In short, the five clinging aggregates are dukkha. Oh, that's the way that verse was translated. What if I copy and paste this into the browser and see what happens? Let's see. So I'm going to go to some website that is not access to insight. No, here's one by Bhikkhu Sujato. To get a different perspective of what? A different way that it's been translated into English. Interpreted into English. I like the word interpreted. Let's see. Rolling forth the wheel of Dhamma. So, if I go dukkha. Oh, they don't even use the word dukkha. Let's see, suffering. Oh, they don't use the word suffering. Suffer. Oh, maybe I spelled it wrong. Now this is the noble truth of suffering. Rebirth is suffering. Old age is suffering. Illness is suffering. Death is suffering. Association with the dislike is suffering. Separation from the light is suffering. Not getting what is wished for is suffering. In brief, the five grasping aggregates are suffering. Oh, that's an interesting translation by Sujatu. So I'm suspecting that this translation is translated by, how do you spell his name? Is it like this? Bhikkhu Bodhi? No, Bodhi. Perhaps. I'm not sure yet. I'm assuming because his name shows up very often, like in the study guide. But I have another way of translating it, is by Sujatu. That's interesting. I'm assuming he's a Buddhist from Sri Lanka, or maybe even Thailand. So I'm thinking that it's translated by Sujatu. I'll find that later. So this is a little bit different. So this translator decided to not to translate the word dukkha as suffering. It gives a impact. Suffering. That it's tragic. But this version, it did not translate. It left the word dukkha untranslated. So listen to how this one sounds. Now this, monks, is the noble truth of dukkha. Birth is dukkha, aging is dukkha, death is dukkha, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair are dukkha. Association with the unbeloved is dukkha. Separation from unloved is dukkha. Not getting what is wanted is dukkha. In short, the five clinging aggregates are dukkha. It's not as powerful as this translation, because dukkha is left untranslated. See, this translation goes, now this is the noble truth of suffering. Rebirth is suffering, old age is suffering, illness is suffering, death is suffering, association with the disliked is suffering, separation from the liked is suffering, not getting what you wish for is suffering. In brief, the five grasping aggregates are suffering. Oh, and he uses the word grasping instead of clinging. Oh, and this guy puts, Bhikkhu Bodhi puts a hyphen. Let's see. Go back to Bhikkhu Bodhi. Let's go back to this one. No, this one. No, this one. No, it doesn't give who translated it. Then when I go like this, let's see what translated from the Tanisaru. Oh, this is not Bhikkhu Bodhi, it's Tanisaru Bhikkhu. That's another one. So that's important to correct my mistakes, my assumptions, my delusions. I've fixed one delusion. I thought this was a translation by Bhikkhu Bodhi. This is a translation by Tanisaru Bhikkhu. I'm familiar with Bhikkhu Bodhi. Let's see if I can look up who that is. Tanisaru Bhikkhu. Oh, this is Tanisaru Bhikkhu. He is an American Buddhist monk. And who is Bhikkhu Bodhi? Bodhi, I think that's the way you spell it. There's Bhikkhu Bodhi. Is an American Theravada Buddhist monk ordained in Sri Lanka. And the other one is Tanisaru, is an American. Oh. 1949. So he's, what, 71 years old? He belongs to the Thai forest tradition. A student of Ajahn. Okay. So he translated some of these so he translated some of the texts that are in the Access to Insight website, and this guy, Bhikkhu Sujato, translated the same verses in Pali. I'm looking at the same verse that is supposed to be the definition of suffering or dukkha. There are two different interpretations, two different ways of interpreting a verse that's somewhere around the Samyutta Nikaya 56.11. This one, the first one we looked at is the one by Tanisaru Bhikkhu, and the second one is by, oh shit, I didn't copy it. Copy. Paste. Maybe it's not working. Oh yeah, okay, now it's working. Right. Bhikkhu Sujato. Okay. And so another thing I noticed is that okay, in this translation it says birth is suffering or dukkha, aging is dukkha, death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, despair, dukkha. In this one it says rebirth is suffering. Oh, instead of saying birth, this one says rebirth. So this one is hiding the concept of rebirth. Rebirth. This one's hiding rebirth and translated it. He chose to translate rebirth. I'm assuming though that the original has the word rebirth in it. But this translator chose to translate it as birth, denying the concept of rebirth that the Buddha was pointing to. Rebirth, that's important because that means that the website access to insight tends to be hesitant or agnostic towards the idea of rebirth. It may be for political reasons, it may be tending to deny or be agnostic about the concept of rebirth. That's my suspicion. I'll have to investigate that further at another time. But that's what I noticed here. Rebirth. So that's an example of why it's good to look at different perspectives on one topic, on one verse. Different interpretations from the same source. It's supposedly the Pali Canon. The sutta called Samyutta Nikaya. Excuse me. They're looking at the same verse. In here it says in short. Here it says in brief. That's no big deal. In what is in brief? In this one, the 5 clinging aggregates are dukkha, but in this one, the 5 grasping aggregates are suffering. That's no big deal. The one uses the word grasping, and the other one uses clinging. Okay, so we could investigate how is it defined or understood? Clinging versus suffering. I mean, clinging versus grasping. Well, what comes to mind for me is that clinging is more automatic, and doesn't require much effort. When clothes cling to each other after coming out of the dryer, there's that. So it doesn't take much effort to cling. But grasping gives the impression that you have the intention of grasping, and there's energy involved in grasping. I grasp this. But that's just my impression, my opinion. The best thing to do might be to look up grasping and clinging. Like clinging versus grasping. Meaning. I don't know, see if that comes up with something. Oh, that's interesting. There's a Sanskrit and Pali word for clinging. It's upadana, attachment or grasping. So it's been translated as clinging, attachment, or grasping. Although the literal meaning is fuel, so it's energy. Upadana and tanha are seen as two primary causes of suffering. The cessation of clinging leads to nirvana. Oh, wow. Okay, so how long have we been at this? And did we get anywhere? What did we learn? We still haven't gotten around to understanding and maybe defining what aggregates are. I did jot down that the Pali is kanda, and it's usually translated into English as aggregate. So a kanda could be a pile, a bundle, a heap, a mass. It could also be a trunk of a tree. The Buddha gave the word kanda a new psychological meaning. Also, maybe I should put originally for the listeners of the Buddha. A kanda could be a pile, blah blah blah. It could also be a trunk of a tree. So Pali is a language that, well, it's extinct now. But if there were people that were speaking Pali, it is assumed that it was the language spoken by the people that listened to the Buddha, or if not so, it was at least the language that the monks who were remembering the words of the Buddha finally got around to writing it down, and that language that they used to write it down later on became labeled the word Pali, if I'm not mistaken. So, or let's say that they taught Pali at that time, or something similar. So, for the listeners of the Buddha, originally the Pali word kanda could mean a pile, a bundle, a heap, a mass. It could also be the trunk of a tree. It could also mean the trunk of a tree. So the Buddha gave the word kanda a new meaning. It was a psychological meaning, introducing the term clinging khandas to summarize his analysis of the truth of stress and suffering. Clinging khandas. Or Bhikkhu Sujato over here uses the word grasping. I tried to look up clinging versus grasping. But it's interesting that upadana is the word originally in Sanskrit or in Pali or something similar. They're often pretty similar. We copy this. So this which to use, clinging or grasping to describe the psychological concept of khanda, or aggregates, or heaps. It's also been not describe the five aggregates, the five khandhas as a psychological, psychological condition. Which adjective to use? Clinging or grasping? Clinging or grasping? To describe the five khanda. Or aggregates. So, because it says here, in brief, the five grasping aggregates are suffering. So the five clinging aggregates are suffering. To describe the five khandhas as a psychological condition that the Buddha was defining or expressing as the basis of suffering. Okay. How's that sound? So, which adjective should I use? Clinging or grasping to describe the five khandhas, or aggregates, or heaps, as a psychological condition that the Buddha was defining or expressing as the basis of suffering. So, this article on Upadana prefers to use the word clinging. So there's different types of clingings. There are four types of clinging: sense pleasure clinging, kamupadana; all views clinging, ditupadana; rites and rituals clinging, silabatupadana; self-doctrine clinging, attavadupadana. The Buddha once stated that while other sects might provide an appropriate analysis of the first three types of clinging, he alone fully elucidated clinging to the self and its resultant suffering. First three, he alone. I like that. There's types of cleaning. Six example. Kulasi Hananda Buddha Sutra. And the Nidana Sumyata, connected discourses on causation. Okay. Okay, going back over here. Wow. I'm interested in the Abhidhamma. The Abhidhamma is an ancient Buddhist, are ancient Buddhist texts which contain detailed scholastic presentations of doctrinal material appearing in the Buddhist sutras. It also refers to the scholastic method itself, as well as the field of knowledge that this method is said to study. So, the Abhidhamma texts and commentaries provide the following definitions for these four cleaning types. Okay, so maybe it's saying that in the suttas the Buddha didn't define them, but in the Abhidhamma and commentaries they attempted to define them. So there's the same four: sense pleasure, view, rites and rituals, self-doctrine, cleaning. All these four clingings. So what are they? So the Abhidhamma defines them. So sense pleasure clinging is repeated craving of worldly things. View clinging, such as eternalism, etc. All the isms. The world and self are eternal, or nihilism. Those are different views. Okay, that's what view clinging is about. And there's rites and rituals clinging, believing that rites alone could directly lead to liberation, typified in the text by the rites and rituals of the ox practice and the dog practice. And self-doctrine clinging, self-identification with selfless entities. As example illustrated by MN44 and further discussed in the Skanda and Anatta articles. Okay. So this, what is MN? That's the Majjhima Nikaya. So in the Majjhima Nikaya, it talks about the self-identification with selfless entities, and that's what Tanisaru says. So we could go on and on with just looking at clinging, right? Clinging, it means fuel, material cause, a substrate that is the source and means for keeping an active process energized. It is also an important concept referring to attachment, clinging, and grasping. It is considered the result of tanha, craving, and part of the dukkha, pain, suffering. So, grasping. I guess it doesn't matter too much whether you use clinging, the word clinging or grasping unless there's a difference. Clinging, see, of a garment. Yeah, the cleaning type. So definition of clean. Dictionary definition of cleaning follows. Overly dependent on someone emotionally. So that's it. That's probably the one we were referring to mostly. Because the first one is has to do with garments. Oh, clinging, fitting closely to the body and showing its shape. Okay. Yeah, that's one definition. I was thinking of when clothes cling to each other due to static. What is this? What are synonyms for clinging? Some common synonyms of cling are adhere. Or those words. On with arms or tendrils. That's interesting. Synonyms for cling. Okay, now if I go here and type in grasping. Let's see. Grasp. Definition of grasp by the Merriam-Webster Dictionary. Okay. Grasps. Definition of grasp. To grasp straw, to reach. Grasp the nettle, to act boldly. Oh, that's the verb, now the noun. Hold, control, mental hold or comprehension. Broad, a remarkable grasp of the subject. Oh, okay. Okay, from there. Grasping. What is to grasp? What is grasp as a noun? The Merriam-Webster Dictionary. Grasp. I didn't copy. Oh. I didn't grasp. Okay. So, wow, this is good stuff. Okay, so what is grasping? And what is to grasp? That's the verb. What is grasp as a noun? So, from Webster Dictionary, grasp as a verb, so you can grasped, or grasping, or grasps. So it's an intransitive verb to make a motion of seizing, clutch, grasping for support. But as a transitive verb, to take or seize eagerly, grasp the opportunity for advancement, to clasp, embrace, especially with the fingers or arms, grasp the pen and begin writing, to lay hold of it with mind, comprehend, fail to grasp the danger of the situation, grasp at straws, to reach for or try anything in desperation, grasp the nettle, to act boldly, grasp the noun, grasp noun, definition of grasp as a noun, entry 2 of 2. Handle, embrace, hold, control, carry, firm grasp on the rope, the reach of arms, the book of shove, organic, the power of seizing and holding or attaining. Success lay within their grasp. Mental hold or comprehension, especially when broad. A remarkable grasp of the subject. Quotation marks around here, so that I know that that's an example. Grasp at straws. Reach. Grasp nettle. Grasp at straws. Sayings. Examples. Sayings. Others. Grasp at the straw. Maybe it's I could put one tab here. And that's the definition of that. Desperation. Yeah, it goes there. Comprehend, fail to grasp, to lay hold of, grasp the pen and begin writing. Let's see. Grasp the opportunity for advancement. Grasping for support. Grasp. Definition of intransitive verb. Okay, cleaning. Okay, so which one should we use? Clinging or grasping? To translate the word, the Sanskrit or Pali word upadana. And it's interesting that also the Buddha, maybe also he expanded the meaning of the word, or like he did with the other one, aggregates. So in the case of the aggregates, see, a khanda could be a pile, a bundle, a heap, a mass, a trunk of a tree, but the Buddha gave the word a new psychological meaning. What meaning was that? The cleaning khandas. Oh. What was that meaning? Khandas. Aggregates? Heaps? Etc. Aggregates? Heaps? I could do the same thing for aggregates or heaps. Which one is better to use? To use. What is grasping? Okay. So, grasping or clinging in Sanskrit or Pali is upadana, and that maybe, or maybe I should put originally or conventionally to the listeners. Meant fuel, material cause, substrate, that is the source and means for keeping an active process energized. It is also an important Buddhist concept referring to attachment. So, or it it may have happened that, like, for is it aggregates or khandas, the Buddha gave upadana a new meaning, a new psychological meaning. As referring to attachment, clinging, grasping. It is considered to be the result of tanha, craving. Oh, and it's part of the dukkha, suffering, pain doctrine in Buddhism. So what I was thinking is many things. That reminds me of ignorance, because of this word tanha, craving. See, because I am familiar with another form of Buddhism that came about later, and it combined more rituals from tantric and the original religion that was in Tibet, the Bun tradition, and it also included later philosophical interpretations of the suttas that involved an attitude of pursuing this effort for liberation. So the suttas have all the knowledge about how to go from A to B, and then later on there was a Buddhism that looked at this and said, in order to go from A to B, you have to have a certain motivation, a certain attitude, and that attitude is that you're going to do it for the benefit of others, and so the idea is that I'm not going to do this for myself, but for others. I'm going to attain my liberation for others. So whatever I do it for others. And although, does that mean that the Buddha didn't talk about this? Perhaps he did, but this later development in Buddhism emphasized it and made it a priority, or a motivating factor to keep the practice in mind from the beginning to end. Always have that motivation. It's called the bodhicitta motivation, where bodhi is awakening, and citta is mind. So it's a mind of awakening, or an attitude of awakening. It's tremendous compassion also. You could think of it that way. That you're doing this work on yourself for the benefit of others, because you're saying, oh, I wish to help others, but I can't because I'm so messed up and deluded. So if I can fix myself, then I'll be able to help others. So I'm going to do this for others. So it's a little tricky there, because how selfish are you? So the Dalai Lama calls it a wisdom kind of selfishness. So why did that line of thinking come up? Because there's in the Buddhism that I've studied, there's that, but in this Buddhism, there's this idea of tanha. Where's that tanha? Where is the tanha? Craving. Tanha. Craving. So, what causes the mess we're in? Is it craving? Is it grasping, attachment, clinging? It may be saying that tamha or craving is what causes the clinging and grasping. Clinging, grasping, attachment, all that. But in the Buddhism I've been studying for a while, the cause is ignorance. So I'm thinking that there is a connection between craving and ignorance. That because of craving, I'm going to pause it, or I'm going to throw something out there. It may be wrong. That because of craving, there is ignorance. And that ignorance leads to clinging, grasping, attachment. Or it could be another way around. That because of ignorance, there is craving, which leads to clinging, grasping, and attachment. Or they happen all at the same time. In the Wheel of Life mandala, there is the three ignorance, desire. No, well, craving is desire, but there's two types of. There's maybe one thing that motivates us, but it motivates us in two different extremes. The one extreme, or the pole that's opposite of the other one, is a desire for something, and the opposite end is a aversion to something. And then I guess you could think of the middle as you don't care, or it could mean ignorance, that you don't care either way. But in the Wheel of Life, in the center of it, there's a circle, and it's showing three animals, and they're circling, and one of them is a pig, and one of them is a snake, and the other one is a bird, like a cock or something like that. So the bird is always grasping or for whatever it desires, and the snake is really mad or angry and is attacking. It's scared, and so it's always has an aversion to things. And then there's the pig that represents ignorance. And what is it doing? Is it ignoring things? It doesn't care either way? Or is that pig the source of the other two? That has to do with the 12 links of dependent origination, which we need to study also. So I'm getting tired of this, and I know you are too. But what have we learned? Oh, we've learned, I don't know if we've learned, but we've reviewed some things like dukkha, suffering, the two different ways of translating the same verse, and in that verse we have to look up words like the aggregates and where they come from, and the adjective to aggregates, the clinging or grasping, which one to use, and that there's 5, and we haven't even got to what the 5 are. And we learned that upadana, that's the Sanskrit and Pali word for what the Buddha would use to mean clinging or grasping or attachment. And the Abhidharma, also the Buddha talks about 4 types of clinging, and the Abhidharma is place the where they are explained in greater detail. Okay. So, and I wrote it all down here in these notes. And I also try to see which one to use, the word clinging or grasping. Maybe we should use them both. But I got a little bit of insight into what the differences and similarities are. I like this idea that in the definition for clinging, the first definition is it has to do with garments. So when a garment it fits too closely to the body and it shows the shape of the body, then it's clinging. She wears a clinging black dress. But that's not what we were striving for. The more psychological meaning is overly dependent on someone emotionally. She wasn't the clinging type. So should we say that therefore the 5 aggregates are aggregates that have to do with being overly dependent emotionally on someone or something? So is the path to liberation, to nirvana, about eliminating clinging or becoming overly dependent on someone or something emotionally? Yes, I could see that. So we should deal with emotions in this study. So that's all I have for you today, whoever's listening to this. Thank you for joining us on Wake Up and Think Clearly, and on your favorite YouTube channel on Buddhism, Buddhism for Happiness. 4 as the number 4. Well, also referring to the Four Noble Truths and other things. Wow. Okay. So let me put this one here, but maybe the Four Noble Truths. The Four Noble Truths. This article, which introduces the Four Noble Truths, but then it has links to the first, second, third, and fourth Noble Truths. I didn't read this, but maybe I will next time. What I did look at was the first of the 4 over here, which is opened here somewhere. Maybe. Maybe it's this one. Dukkha. Well, yeah, we read about this. No single English word adequately captures the full depth, range, and subtlety of the crucial Pali term dukkha. Over the years, many translations of the word have been used. Stress, unsatisfactoriness, suffering. Each has its own merits in a given context. So, yes, I've used suffering mostly, but then I've considered unsatisfactoriness and stress, or leaving it untranslated, like it was done with the translation that we saw by Tanisaru Bhikkhu over here. Here says that one. Oh no, this one. Mm-hmm. Suffering. The Four Noble Truths. Okay, so I could say furthermore that the Four Noble Truths is not quite the best translation for the four. Maybe it should be something like the four truths that lead the noble to nirvana. No, that's too long. The four truths for noblemen. Because I think noble in this case is referring to people that are very conscientious. That are on the path to nirvana, to liberation. So we'll look into that. But we haven't gotten very far. But hopefully this was a good review, and hopefully you can chime in with comments, and I'll try to get to them in the YouTube channel that you find this discussion, investigation that I'm doing on this topic, the teachings, the Dhamma, the good law. Thank you for attending this discussion. I hope it helped. I hope it helped me most of all. Thank you. Oh. Am I recording? Yes. I didn't have to record my camera. Oh, what happened to this guy? Oh, okay, there it is. It kind of disappeared. Yeah, there's dukkha. We looked at the definition. We actually haven't gotten through all of the four truths for the noble, for the philosophers. The four truths for philosophers.